Hello all, and welcome back to another audio commentary from me, Mr. Lucid LJ. Now, it's been a while since my last commentary, 2, 3 months ago, maybe a little bit longer, but at the moment I've just been busy and, I just haven't felt really like coming up here doing too many commentaries and stuff. I would have liked to start doing more football commentaries and stuff like that, but that hasn't came into fruition. Wrestling at the moment, to me, 2014 probably one of the worst years I've ever seen in wrestling. I'm very low on the product overall. I think the product is stale, boring, bland. I think the main event scene looks boring. Mid card scene seems pretty lame. There's just no effort really being put in at the moment. We've had some good pay per views, but overall, the whole feel and scope of the company, I think it's in a kind of a bad position at the moment. So what I've decided to do is come up here do another booking video. I've decided to rebook WrestleMania 30. Now, at first, I thought it was a good show to a very good show, but in hindsight, looking back and where we are now, I think I've kind of changed my mind. I think SummerSlam was a good show, nothing special. It was good. Pay-per-views in between, I mean, the lead up to SummerSlam kind of was a bit boring and sloppy and lazy. And pay-per-views after and Raws after have been pretty boring and lazy. There's nothing to excite anymore. It feels like the excitement is just gone in wrestling. I'm not excited to turn on Monday Night Raw. I have no interest nearly to watch a Monday Night Raw now. SmackDown has been non-existent for 3 or 4 years. Really, I'll see an odd one here and there. Maybe I'll see some segments and stuff out of that. But just overall, like it's just boring. But hopefully this booking will bring some excitement. I think you know I'll try and talk about some storyline and stuff. I feel like we're lacking a lot of storyline in WWE at the moment. There's no compelling angles. There's just nothing special there anyway. So, all right. So I think to open up the show, I would have maybe Hogan cut a promo in the ring. I don't want him to stay out too long. I thought that this promo segment that he had was far too long, and to me, it's like there's no need as well for the involvement of Rock and Austin. Yeah, it's great to see the guys. They're talented. They're brilliant wrestlers. Some of the best of all time in the ring. It was nice to see all three in the ring. We've probably seen it before, but I just don't see the point of these segments. I mean, if you look back to previous WrestleManias, you don't really see too many of these segments where like someone opens up the show. You kind of have in the commentary the build up to the matches, a video package before the event like even kicks off to show what kind of matches we've got coming up for tonight. The commentators are pumped up for the matches for tonight. So I kind of feel this segment pointless. It could have been done on a Raw. Doesn't need to be done on a WrestleMania because if you do it on a Raw, it could pop a decent rating and stuff like that if you build it up or have maybe one guy show and the others are built up or something like that. But yeah, kind of pointless, kind of dragged on a lot, wasted a lot of time, which could have gone to matches a lot more. But, I think Hogan should open up the show, talk about a bit of the previous WrestleManias, and then kind of hype up the first match. Now, the first match I would have would be the Battle Royal, the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. I'd keep that. I thought that was a really good idea. I like the fact that it's kind of being given a bit of extra touch and shine by Hogan. Maybe have Hogan at ringside to present the winner with the trophy after the match. I think that'd be a nice touch, a nice rub. But yeah, I'd have it go like 12 to 15 minutes. I mean, there's not really much build you can do. I mean, you have maybe guys wanting to get in and, have little matches here and there for people to qualify, perhaps. Have people talk about how important this is, how much they think Andre is an icon, especially Big Show. He wanted to follow in his footsteps as Andre the Giant and even become bigger than him. So, I cut it down to 20 men. 12 to 15 minutes would be nice. I would pretty much keep the same winner. I think Cesaro was a great choice to win the match. I would probably build up a little bit better to the spot he had where he actually did pick up Big Show and dump him over the ring. It was a nice spot. It was a nice moment. I just feel like Cesaro's lost all his steam since then. You know, we saw him go with Heyman, be a Heyman guy, and that's kind of fizzled out now. And he's losing a lot of matches on pay per view. He's getting title shots that he probably doesn't deserve because he's just losing the whole time. So yeah, so the participants I would have would be Dolph Ziggler, Cesaro, Sheamus. I just put Darren Young in there because he was they were kind of giving him some of a push at the time. Henry, Christian, Cody Rhodes, Goldust, Miz, Damien Sandow, Kofi Kingston, Sin Cara, Big Show, Big E, Jack Swagger, R-Truth, Tyson Kidd, Alberto Del Rio, Xavier Woods, Rey Mysterio. I've pretty much condensed it into the better workers in the company, and got rid of like the likes of Heath Slater, Jinder Mahal, people who are just not taken seriously. Maybe they could have matches over the weekend at WrestleMania Access or some shit to get their payday, but I think these are the better talents that they have available in the company. So yeah, and then Hogan probably presents the trophy to Cesaro after that, so that would be pretty nice. The next match would be, for me, the Usos against the New Age Outlaws. I'm really disappointed this match didn't get WrestleMania for a couple of reasons. For one, the Usos got like a pre-show match at WrestleMania, and to be honest, I think they're talented enough to have a WrestleMania match where they get like a really nice rub. I mean, I think it was a couple of weeks before WrestleMania 30 they actually won the tag team titles. Now, if I remember, on the pre-show they did defend the tag team titles in a fatal four-way against the Real Americans, Ryback, Los Matadores, and yeah. So actually, I mean, in the opener, you could even put Ryback in if you wanted to take someone else out. I mean, makes no difference. Maybe have Ryback even try to do the Big Show spot. Maybe have a few guys like Sheamus, the bigger guys and stuff. Maybe Big E tries it and can't do it, and Cesaro's like the only one who can go for it. I think that'd be a nice story to the match as well. Even Henry could try go for it, but Big Show fights off, and then finally Cesaro gets it and wins the match. I think that could add some elements to it. But anyway, yeah, the Usos definitely didn't get the just desserts, really, to me. I think the Usos deserved a spot on the main show. And to me, it's perfect. Have the Usos against one of the greatest tag teams, in my opinion, of the Attitude Era, the New Age Outlaws. I thought it was great to see him come back, have a little run. You saw him win the tag team titles. I think it was the Rumble, but that was pre-show as well, which I didn't like. So to me, they should have won that on the main show of Rumble against the Dust Brothers, Cody and Goldust. But this match is just basically, have some one-on-one matches building up. Have some have the Outlaws be like that heelish team they were back in the day, back in 97, 98, where they would incapacitate opponents and take them out before matches and stuff. So it has some doubt that the Usos might not make the pay-per-view. That they could be injured, they're not fully fit in the match. You could work over them in the match, have the good heat spot there, the face spot where one of them tags in, runs wild, back and forth, some nice action, and eventually have the Usos win the tag team titles. I think that would have been a brilliant WrestleMania moment. I mean, the first WrestleMania moment was Cesaro winning, doing a nice spot, gives them a big rub from Hogan, big rub from winning this, and I feel like this match with the Usos and Outlaws could do the same for the Usos. And now, if you had the Usos win, have them have a nice lengthy title run like they did, but try and keep the division fresh. I feel like near the end of the run, and at the moment, the tag team division is in a dreadful state. It doesn't look anything like it was around this time of the year. I feel like it's just totally dead. You've seen the Usos face against people that we've seen before, so I think definitely, keep the Usos strong. You could even have a rematch at the next pay-per-view, have them in a cage match or tables match or whatever kind of match, ladder match for the next pay-per-view, because it's Extreme Rules. So, yeah, I think this match will be really nice. and a good way to get the Usos over. Fairly credible tag team. I mean, New Age Outlaws won the titles like 6, 7 times now, so it'd be a really nice win and a nice moment for the Usos. But anyway, next match. This kind of filler-ish match. We saw it a lot leading up to WrestleMania, and I'm surprised they probably didn't save this for WrestleMania. Sheamus Christian. I'm not really sure exactly what you could do here. It'd be short, like 10 to 12 minutes, could be even shorter. Just kind of a filler match ish, kind of. Christian could be jealous of Sheamus. I don't know. You could make some angle out of it, some small little storyline building up. You don't have to always have the really intense storyline, but at least have the card flow where it feels like we're building to the main event, we're building to the bigger matches of the show. I felt like WrestleMania 30 tried to do that, but I think it lacked a lot. I mean, for WrestleMania 30, this should have been one of the biggest shows ever. Now, I haven't included The Rock on this show, and maybe I should have. Maybe I should have had The Rock in a match against someone because I felt like it was missing a little bit of star power on the show. But I think what I've done with the card is make it a little bit more important than the actual card. Um, you know, I think Rock could have wrestled a match against someone, maybe against Jericho, or you could have come up with some solution because it's weird that he was like there doing a segment at the beginning, but then he couldn't wrestle on the show. I found it weird. Um, I mean, another big criticism is you can't always rely on your stars of the past. You have to start building your stars of the future. I feel like a guy like Sheamus has been misused the past couple of years. A guy like Christian has been misused since he came back to the company. So, I'd have Christian actually go over. It'd be nice to see Christian have a Mania match win. In a nice wrestling match, it'd be a nice, crisp wrestling match, and yeah, it would be good. Right, anyway, so the next match, I would have the IC title match. I actually thought they were going to do this at WrestleMania, but they actually didn't, and that would be Biggie Langston defending against Cesaro and Jack Swagger. Now, I like the way they were teasing the Swagger Cesaro kind of tension going into the show. I believe you saw some of it in the actual Battle Royal, and you saw it on the pre-show in the tag match against the Usos. So you could have them bickering a lot, have Zeb Colter involved. I thought that was a nice thing. They're basically trying to prove that they're the better athlete. Cesaro with his strength, Jack Swagger with his wrestling, also Cesaro with his wrestling. Have him be really competitive, have him go out in even singles matches leading up to it, trying to prove that they can win a match quickly, and maybe even tag matches where they're trying to one-upmanship each other, but sometimes might even cost each other, so that'll cause the tension and build up to the match. Have Big E in it somehow. He could be kind of the third wheel, which is not great when you're trying to present your IC title, but I thought this would have been a nice match to have on the show. It would have showcased these three guys. Now, to me, Swagger, they've dropped the ball on him as well the past 3 or 4 years. He was going to that main event scene and then dropped back off the face of the earth and actually somehow got like a WrestleMania title match last year against Alberto Del Rio, which was really bizarre, but even if you just keep him at mid card level, I'd love to see Cesaro at the main event. I think this guy is pure talented. He's got the great look. His gimmick is not the best. It could be improved. He's got the great in ring work. I think he's pretty good on the mic. I think he could work as a heel and a babyface. I'd like to see him as a babyface, perhaps, because all we've seen is really heel work from him. So, yeah, I think this would be a nice match. Yeah, I mean, you could have like Biggie Langston show his strength v Cesaro in some kind of a segment, perhaps. A serious segment trying to build up the title match. He wants to prove that he can beat not just one opponent on a night, that he could even beat two opponents or however many opponents on any given night. Um, but yeah, I mean, this night to me, I'm really going to put Cesaro over, and I'm actually going to have Cesaro win the IC title. Now, I felt like Biggie, it was nice to see him win the IC title. Maybe it was a little bit too soon for him. Um, he kind of fell flat a lot. So I think Cesaro could have a nice run for a couple of months. To me, Cesaro's more of an overall character, better in ring worker, can cut probably a hell of a lot better promo than Big E. I mean, this could lead to a Cesaro swagger feud for a couple of months, maybe over the title. You know, Cesaro really gloating the fact that he won the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, and he won the IC title on the same night, which is kind of like, a big deal, basically. So yeah, I think this would be a nice little match. I've just thought of some ideas there for storyline. It could easily be built up, and be built up legitimately. Like, I feel like the IC title hasn't been relevant in a couple of years. People might say, well, it's not been credible for a lot longer, but I think we've had some good IC champions. I just feel like WWE doesn't give enough precedent and prestige to the title to consider it as a second tier title to the world heavyweight title. I mean, for a long time we saw the world heavyweight title be the main title, and this be like a third, fourth title nearly. Like even tag team might have been ahead of this at some stage, but just give it precedence. This should be your second main title. This title should be a stepping stone to the upper mid card, and then you work your way from the upper mid card to the main event, and then eventually get your opportunities for world title. I feel like the traditional build is gone, and we need to see that more back in wrestling because, like, we have talented guys. Like Big E has got some talent. You know, maybe needs to add more moves to his arsenal. Maybe needs to work on promo skills and the character a little bit better. Same with Cesaro, but have great looks and feel like they're getting wasted at the moment. But anyway, the next match I would have, this would be the fifth match on the show, and it's kind of like the first half of the show closes with this match, and this would be Brock Lesnar Batista. Now, I had an idea where, you have Batista return. I think I wouldn't have him return in the attire that he had. I felt like he got a lot of heel heat that he didn't need. I mean, yeah, he left as a heel. I think he could have come back as a face for a while, then eventually turn heel later on the road. But keep that momentum of him being a face for a while. Came back in skinny jeans and just looked like a complete arse. I didn't think it helped him at all. I mean, at least they saw sense to turn him heel. Definitely wouldn't have had him win the Rumble. I think that was a dreadful decision, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in the main event booking. But Batista and Brock, to me, two legitimate guys, like two badasses, I think. I mean, especially Brock Lesnar. This guy is a legitimate former UFC world heavyweight champion now. You can say he's not going to be the best of all time, UFC heavyweight champions, not even close. I won't even probably put him in the top five, but at least the guy went from professional wrestling over to the sport and, carried their world title for a while and, had some really compelling fights, some interesting fights that I've seen Brock Lesnar. Now, to me, I wonder if his illness took away from the fact of his true potential in UFC. I guess we'll never know because I never see Lesnar probably going back there. But he proved a lot when he was there. He was there for like what 2-3 years in UFC. Won the world title, carried it for a while. This guy was breaking like pay-per-view record numbers, drawing like million buys like 3 or 4 times he did it. It just goes to show the talent of Brock Lesnar. Now, he came back in 2012, which was great to see. Got a great reaction. Had a really good match with John Cena until the finish. And had some pretty good matches along the way. Now, to me, Lesnar, I don't think should have broke the streak of Undertaker. Now, he will be the most legitimate guy to go and break the streak, but I just don't think it's needed. I think this guy is should be doing other things instead of breaking the streak. I mean, I don't mind necessarily. I don't really care about the streak too much. I think it's overrated anyway, but I don't think the guy should have broke it. I think what I'm going to plan later on in the video is something different. So, anyway, you had Batista as well, who left the wrestling business in 2010. I think he wasn't happy with the current direction, and I agree. I think around 2010, I think you really got to see how much the decline of the product was really starting to go into effect. You had the same shit of John Cena in the main event, Randy Orton in the main event. We never saw true legitimate talents being built up for the next generation for the next 5 to 10 years. I mean that really should have started happening in like 2006 and 7. Alongside your John Cena's, your Randy Orton, Batista, Triple H's, you should have seen other talents like your Chris Masters, your Jeff Hardys, your Umaga's, even perhaps. Other talents that were in the federation at the time should have been built up. And even around this time, guys like a Swagger should have been built up. Guys like a Sheamus should have been built up. Guys like a Barrett should have been built up for your next couple of years, and then you could build up now with guys like Reigns, Cesaro, Ambrose, Big E. I just feel like WWE has really dropped the ball on building up talent in the past 10 years. I feel like it's nearly non existent. I feel like we see the same shit of John Cena and Randy Orton in the main event, and then we see rehash of old stars coming in or whatever, But anyway, yeah, Batista went. I think he did some movies and stuff. He actually did UFC as well. So literally, this is a perfect feud to me. These guys, I don't think ever faced. I don't know if they ever had a segment in the ring before, but to me, this makes the most sense. So you've got two badasses, two tough looking motherfuckers who both competed in the octagon, and that's a good storyline on its own. Now, how I would set this up would be Brock Lesnar's going to enter the Royal Rumble that year, and same with Batista, both vying for the chance to go to WrestleMania and to go to the main event and challenge Randy Orton for that World Heavyweight title. But in the match, maybe they have a face-off, have a nice little brawl, blah blah blah, and then one or the other costs the other guy the chance to go to WrestleMania. The other guy then eventually gets eliminated, but that could spark off the feud, and then you could literally have, you know, a contract signing. You could have a nice brawl, maybe. I think this match will be like a no holds bar match, kind of like brawling mainly more than actual using chairs and stuff, like brawling outside the ring, being really physical with each other. People shit on it, but I think Brock Lesnar's attire now is kind of cool. The UFC kind of gimmick he has. You got Heyman who can help him cut the promos to say, Batista, you're nothing to my guy. Brock Lesnar is the beast. But in the match, you'll have Lesnar dominate some of the match. Batista was going to be the face, Lesnar the heel. Batista comes back, lays it into Lesnar. Really give them a good test, not like in terms of, oh, I'm going to do a finish, you're going to kick out, but in terms of physicality, strength, grappling, brawling, really give it to Brock Lesnar. Show him some of his mat skills that, Batista could have some mat skills in him, but just a nice physical match. But I would have Brock Lesnar come out, win the match. Maybe some heel way if you want. I'd like to actually see a rematch at the following pay-per-view. Maybe have Batista win that match. Possibly have a third match. But continue the feud. I think that's a nice way to start off. Like, one of them costs each other in the Rumble. You have your face-off because it's never happened. It's kind of a throwback to, like, this match could have happened, like, 10 years ago, or it could have happened if Lesnar had stayed around, but, you're getting the opportunity to see this match. You're getting two tough guys. Batista can cut good promos. Lesnar can cut an okay promo, and you got Heyman to help him anyway. So I think all this culmination will be quite nice. 15, 18 minutes, Brock Lesnar goes over, looks like his legitimate badass self, whatever. Now, in between now, we're going to have. I don't know what band to have at WrestleMania. I didn't think of an actual band to have, but I think have some kind of a band, basically. Do a couple of songs, not overdo it, just a couple of songs. Have them play the theme of WrestleMania, blah blah blah. Just kind of break up the thing. Have the crowd kind of relax, seeing a decent first half with some entertainment. Some cool stuff like the Battle Royal, title changes, Cesaro looking strong, a good physical match for Brock Lesnar and Batista. Then I'd like to see a nice Hall of Fame segment, show clips of Hall of Fame from the night before. Now, another thing is that I would have a few extra people probably get inducted in the Hall of Fame. Because it is WrestleMania 30, you're trying to portray the show as one of the biggest shows ever. It's the 30th anniversary of WrestleMania, one of the most successful things we've ever seen in entertainment, like in terms of how much popularity it has. So you really have to put even more people into the Hall of Fame, I reckon. I think DDP would have been a lovely guy to go in. I think he kind of deserved to go in. That'd be one extra one. Goldberg, to me, you can say, he's a one-hit wonder, but that guy made such an impact on the wrestling business. It's not even funny. People like Triple H might want to crap on him and say, guy didn't do enough to deserve Hall of Fame, but to me, it'd be a really nice addition. Um, Maybe another celebrity, but I can't really think of someone off the top of my head. I mean, Mr. T was kind of a funny one to put in, but kind of made sense, I guess, because he was at the first WrestleMania. Um, so you got Goldberg, DDP. I put the NWO in perhaps as well as a faction. I think that would be kind of interesting to do. I don't know, have like NWO, because then at least you'll have Scott Hall get inducted, maybe as Scott Hall / Razor Ramon, kind of incorporate the two, because I thought that they barely even, picked up on the fact that, Razor Ramon was in WCW as NWO Scott Hall. So that would have been a nice throwback to see that as well. Kevin Nash, I think, deserves to go in the Hall of Fame. He's added a lot to the wrestling business. As many people like to shit on him, he's still entertaining. He's a good character, good look, not too bad in the ring, can cut good promos and stuff. Hogan, I won't mind going in twice like Ric Flair with the Four Horsemen, so it kind of makes sense. Um, I mean, another guy really that should be in the Hall of Fame is Randy Savage. That'd be a nice year to put him in on the 30th anniversary of WrestleMania. Have his brother induct him. Like the main two attractions will be Warrior and Savage as the top two going in, and then you have everyone underneath like your Jake the Snake, Razor, blah 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 blah. But those two to me have to be the focus, because these two talents are some of the biggest talents we've ever seen in the wrestling business. So, and possibly even an Owen Hart you could throw in there just to really cap it off as like, oh my god, this is the most talented Hall of Fame we're ever going to see. It's WrestleMania 30. We're going to load it to the absolute gills, basically. Okay, then after all that, that's like the in between, like the kind of break between the first half of the show and the next half of the show will be coming up now. To me as well, the fact that WrestleMania now usually is around 4 hours, but the fact that you're on the network as well, you could even start the show at 7, half 7. Even if it ran till 11, half 11, do you really care? Doesn't really make any difference anymore. I always found that weird, like, let's say a pay-per-view can only last 3 hours like regular pay-per-view, but now you have that opportunity to kind of showcase a little bit more. I mean, also, in between the first hour of the show, you could show clips of previous WrestleManias and stuff like that. I think that'd be a nice throwback to kind of, you know, show the history. Like maybe in between matches or whatever, um, you know, show the clips of previous WrestleMania. I think that'd be a nice throwback touch. Another thing that I felt that was really missing on the show was the fact of
backstage segments to kind of hype up the fact that there is some big matches. I think like it would have been nice to see a backstage segment, let's say for the Batista Brock Lesnar match, where Batista basically says, "Yeah, I'm really pumped for this match," blah blah blah. Maybe have Heyman do one as well. I'd like to see good video package for all these first couple of matches. I mean, maybe not Sheamus Christian as much, but the Battle Royal definitely deserves a video package. Usos tag match does. The Triple Threat IC title does, and definitely the Brock Lesnar Batista. So just add these elements. These are simple things that WWE used to do, and it feels like we're just totally gone away from that concept where we're not getting matches built up properly. We're going away from video packages. We're not incorporating storyline, all that kind of jazz that used to capture people to watch the match. I mean, the lead up to me, I've got into this mindset where I'm accepting mediocrity, and I really need to get out of it because I think that the past couple of years, as bad as the product is, I've kind of just accepted it for what it is. But realistically, I shouldn't. I've set my standard really low, and I shouldn't. I should expect backstage segments. I should expect video packages that look really good and appealing. I should expect good lead up. I should expect good storylines, good angles. I should expect good characters. And then all that culmination leading up to the actual match where it should show aspects of the build up in the match, you know? Like how Lesnar can be so vicious leading up to the match. That should be implemented into the match, or even when Batista gets beaten down on a Raw, for example, in the lead up, how resilient and how much he can fight back even after a beat up. Just certain things like this should be incorporated into the actual match then. Even for the IC title match, there's like a clash and a bickering and this like showmanship between Cesaro and Swagger, and then that should actually come across in the match where they're going for the pinfall and dragging each other off, or showing their test of strength, or showing how competitive they are. Work together, but then eventually you see like the split in the match where they just go out for themselves, vying for that IC title. I think we're missing a lot of this storytelling. We're missing a lot of these aspects in wrestling. So anyway, to kick off the second half of this show, I think this match should definitely have happened, and it's a real shame because I think that the first match was one of the best six-man tags I've ever seen, and one of the best matches of 2014, and that's the Whites and the Shield. Now, I guess so. I don't really know exactly what you could do now. Just to say, like, the Shield are kind of face-ish at the time. They kind of turned into that face role now. The Wyatt's pure heel. So just basically have a storyline of who is the most dominant faction or group of guys in the company, and I think that could work. It's simple. There's nothing too complicated. I also thought that could be an interesting part to add to the storyline where the way that Dean Ambrose is a bit of a loose cannon in the Shield. Not necessarily that he would turn heel. You could hint at it. You could even possibly do it in the match, but I don't think I would. Where you have Wyatt cut these promos, maybe try and get into the head of Ambrose, possibly abduct him and fill his mind with shit. Just something extra to add to this match. I mean, have singles matches leading up, perhaps on Raw, tag matches, or something, brawls and stuff. But to me, this definitely should be a street fight. Now, I know we had a no holds barred match already. No holds barred to me doesn't always have to be like weapons and stuff. Now, this street fight, I would like to see just pure carnage, ladders, tables, going through barricades, just go out balls to the wall in this match. Their first match was really good as a six-man tag. I think at the time, yeah, the Wyatts going over made perfect sense. They're the heel team. You want to keep them strong. The Shield didn't really lose any momentum. The Shield want to prove themselves in this match. Have the Shield go over. And maybe have it blow off in a cage match at the next show to end the feud, perhaps. But really, this match should have happened. This should have been one of your top 4 matches, top 4 or 5 matches on the show. And I've even put this match ahead of Brock Lesnar Batista because I feel like this match is showcasing future talents of your company. Bray Wyatt, great character, creepy as fuck. Sometimes his promos can be a little bit bizarre that don't make any sense. Now, the whole Shield is a talent now. Roman Reigns has got the look of a rock to me. He looks like an absolute superstar if they built him right over the next couple of years. Push him as a main eventer. Seth Rollins has this kind of like, I think he could be a main eventer, like a Hardy perhaps, like a risk taker. I don't know if he's necessarily working the best as a heel, but I don't know. And even Ambrose, at the time, I wasn't the biggest Ambrose fan, but this guy in the past 6 months, he was good-ish. He wasn't even my favourite out of the Shield, but to me, he could even be one of my favourite out of the Shield at the moment. Like, the way they've built him up, the way they've done some good stuff with him, they've made him really prominent and made him possibly believable as a main eventer now as well. I feel like they kind of fucked it up at the Hell in a Cell. I think Ambrose should have gone over clean. Then you have maybe Wyatt interfere in the match. Then you could do a few of them, but I feel like Ambrose, Rollins, Hell in a Cell should have gone balls to the wall. Not do all this tribute shit where you're homaging other matches. Do some unique shit. Think outside the box. Do some unique spots that we haven't seen before. Doesn't have to be off top of the cell. Just something different. That's all I'm asking. Then you have Ambrose win, have it a bloody brawl. You know, Rollins betrayed his Shield members to join the Authority to get his own personal gain. And you're gonna obviously see Roman Reigns feud with Rollins down the line, but it was Ambrose and Rollins the past 4 months. Now, to me, that match should have been 20-25 minutes, balls to the wall, blood, fucking guts, fucking crazy fucking spots, everything. But Ambrose comes out looking the strongest, winning the match convincingly, and you put him over strong, and then you can move into a Bray Wyatt Dean Ambrose feud for the next couple of months, and then whatever after that. I feel like we've kind of. I honestly don't want to see Rollins and Ambrose again. We've seen matches with them before. Fucked finishes. Nah, a lumberjack match. Come on, I mean, a lumberjack match to have as your first match on pay per view at SummerSlam. You avoided matches previously. Have this match at SummerSlam be a singles match. Have the second match have the first match at SummerSlam be Rollins goes over, even in a heel way. The second match should be some kind of hardcore street fight at Night of Champions. Have Ambrose go over, but along the way have him getting beaten down, tortured by the Authority and Rollins, and then the third match have Ambrose go over again. You know, have Rollins look competitive in the match, but still have Ambrose go over. I just feel like, they've kind of totally dropped the ball. I just don't want to see the match again. This match, the Wyatts and the Shield, would be a fucking match of the year contender. These guys seem to have great chemistry. Even like Harper and Rowan, they don't look like the most best in ring kind of talents, but these guys can cut some good matches. We've seen some good tag matches with these guys before. Have like just an all-out war in this match as well. But yeah, I'm really upset like they didn't have this match. But anyway, we're coming up to the last couple of matches now. There's going to be 2 women's matches on the show. Just threw this in there for the sake of it. Some Total Divas shit. Have a Total Divas team. So I got Nikki, Brie, Naomi, Cameron, Eva Marie, and then that could be face, I guess, against heel women random team Layla, Alicia Fox, Rose Mendez, Summer Rae, Tamina Snuka now. I know Summer Rae is on the show, but she was a bitch fucking arsehole. This is just a random match to kind of break in between the next match after this. I'll just have the heel team go over, I guess. I mean, you could have the face team. It doesn't really make any difference. 8 to 10 minutes. You know, you've got some talented women in this match, like Layla. Naomi, I think's got talent. Tamina's okay. Alicia Fox is athletic, but just something to kind of cool the fans down after such an epic match with the Wyatts and Shields. So, and same stuff again. The Wyatts and Shields should have good build up, a nice video package to really hype up the match. You know, that's the whole point of matches, to get yourself emotionally invested, to really get yourself hooked into a match. So the next match. Now, this might be controversial, but you know what? I don't really care. I think this match would be a nice way to kind of be one of your top 3 matches of the show, and that's John Cena Undertaker. Now, I felt like they were going to do it the past couple of years, but for some reason they've not done this match at WrestleMania, and really you've never seen. You saw like John Cena against Undertaker back in like 2003, and maybe some other encounters along the way, but as a one of your top matches at Mania, I think it would be a nice way, you know. John Cena's pretty much done it all. You know, he's won 15 world titles. He's, been one of the top dogs in the company, and he's main evented WrestleManias and won. He's won the Rumble. He's won Money in the Bank. He's won pretty much every achievement. Won all the titles pretty much. Undertaker, similar career, won the Rumble. Hasn't won Money in the Bank. Main evented. I think he's main evented a couple. I think he's main evented a couple WrestleManias. Shawn at 26. Can't think of any others, but I feel like this match would be just, even if you didn't have any build, just a nice match to have as one of your top matches. Now, to me, the build of this would be that, I don't know, John Cena has let's say a disappointing Royal Rumble. He was really looking forward to challenge for the world title. Now, to me, I just want to keep John Cena totally away from the world title and whatever. And, he comes out on one of the Raws, cuts kind of like a promo where he says, look, this is something I've been thinking about for the past couple of years. I really want to challenge Undertaker at WrestleMania. I want to be the one who can beat his streak. I've seen some of the greatest talents ever try and challenge this guy at WrestleMania and fallen short, but I believe, that I've proven myself over the years that I am good enough to beat Undertaker at WrestleMania. Undertaker, you've had some really tough matches the past 5 or 6 years, keeping in storyline. And, I feel like people have come so close, like a hair, a whisker, to take that mantle that you hold so dearly to you, the WrestleMania streak. I believe I'm still in my prime, still good enough to take that away from you. Undertaker, kind of be a bit heely, kind of like a cocky, arrogant way where he's cutting promos, and he lays out that challenge. He's challenging Undertaker to go for that WrestleMania streak. You have Undertaker kind of, not exactly show up first. You have him like video packages hyping up the fact that Undertaker will return. Maybe have like, this typical kind of spooky shit where lights go out and you think he might come back, or, kind of make Cena a little bit paranoid, the fact that you don't know when he's going to come back and kind of possibly attack and kick the shit out of me. So I would like to see Undertaker come back this time. If I was going to do this match as not exactly biker and not exactly dead man, some kind of hybrid in between. I don't know, have him possibly even come out on a bike. Like a Reaper or something. I think that'd be really cool. Like Undertaker as a Reaper. Not with a stick necessarily, but a real, I don't know, it'd be tough to do it, but like a hybrid in between Deadman and Biker, because I feel like there's elements of Deadman that I really love, and there's a lot of elements as well of the Biker, which I really think should have lasted a lot longer. I also think that they should have done Undertaker Brock Lesnar maybe at like 28, perhaps, after that confrontation they had in like 2011. That would have been a perfect time to do that match, and Taker overcomes Lesnar then. But to me, this will be a fucking perfect time to do this match. A big WrestleMania match. John Cena, WWE push him as one of the greatest. I don't consider it, but he's one of their franchise players, I'm sick of the guy. I think he should retire, whatever, but put him in this high profile match. Take it to me, this should be the last WrestleMania match. Ended at WrestleMania 30, and what a perfect way to go out would be to lose to John Cena, and literally this could be such a big moment. I think this could be bigger than the Lesnar moment for the simple fact that you could capitalize on this and finally, after so many friggin' years of just denying ourselves, denying the fans, over pushing, over shoving John Cena down our throats, finally turn the guy heel, where he comes out and just be the total dick. He says, I don't give a shit about the fans anymore. Finally, turn him heel. Just say, all these years, it's just finally built up into me. And just take out Undertaker at WrestleMania. And he just comes out arrogant, cocky, and just says, look, not says this word exactly, I fucking proved that I can beat the dead man. I am the greatest of all time. I've won the titles. You guys didn't believe in me. Some of you did. Like, how great of a segment could that be? Like, the fans will be like, what a catalyst. To me, would be one of the best way. It'd be a shocking moment. Streak's over. Taker's over. This is the last match with Taker. Like, to me, he should have faced. Who did he face at 27? Yeah, Triple H. That was fine. Think it was a good match. A little bit overdone on the finishers. 28, you have the Brock Lesnar match after the confrontation. Have him actually come back as a biker, maybe fully. 29, we have him come back as Dead Man totally against Sting at 29. I don't give a shit what you have to do to get Sting at 29. I would do him at 29. And then to cap it all off, because this is a long-term plan over a couple of years now. At WrestleMania 30 against Cena. Cena beats him, turns heel in the process. There's one of the biggest shocks at WrestleMania you're ever going to see. Now, I know the way WWE portray John Cena as this all good, two shoes, whatever motherfucker, love the kids, fucking make a wish, blah, 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 blah. You could have him come out and cut promos where he's like, look at all the kids' lives I've tried to touch. Why don't someone else do the make a wish? Because I'm done with it. Have him get like really good heel heat. Maybe even keep him as kind of the same character, maybe. I don't know, but I think this would be a great catalyst to a heel turn. Something that fans like my age and older been craving for a number of years, and it's well overdue. It's about 3 or 4 years overdue to me. Um, Perfect way to do it. It's someone people love in the Undertaker to lose the streak to a guy like people are hating. For the majority, I think people hate Cena and his character is so lame and corny. But yeah, what a great moment. So, right, now to cool the fans down, now this could be lost in the shuffle, which is a pity because on paper, the next match is actually a pretty good women's title match. And to me, the most logical sense of a match to do would be AJ Lee against Natalia. Now, you know, I was thinking at first, yeah, maybe have Natalia go over, but I don't know if I would because I know, yeah, it would be another nice WrestleMania moment, but we've been through a roller coaster. We've seen a lot already. Um, you know, have AJ retain because it would lead on to another match. It would give her some heat that she actually retained her title at WrestleMania, so she could be arrogant and cocky about that as well. And I think it'd be just a nice women's match. Natalia to me is a better worker. AJ has got something. She's not dreadful. She's a good, decent worker. To build up the match, I'm not exactly sure on this one. This is a just proving that look at all the hard work Natalia's done over the years and fallen short time and time again, and someone like AJ who isn't a patch on Natalia has never been really tested by a true women's wrestler, and she feels like she's not a real world women's champion, divas champion, whatever. And you have Natalia qualify in some kind of divas match, like a fatal four way on Raw, qualify. I'd like to even see promos in the ring with these two, like legitimate promos to actually build up their match. Um, where they possibly even have a contract signing. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see that for women. It'd be something different. It'd be something fresh. Um, you could have Natalia confront AJ, kind of intimidate her. Obviously, Natalia's the face here. AJ's the heel, so she could end up running away. She could do heel shit to Natalia, not necessarily attack her, but you know, sabotage things perhaps backstage. But just add a few things. But really, it should be the competition of can AJ step up to the plate where she can actually, prove that she is a competent Divas champion, and it's not just by luck that she is the Diva champion. So she could actually have a good wrestling match. Possibly, she could have a good wrestling match where she's not dominated. It's kind of back and forth. She eventually wins heelish way. She kind of runs away, perhaps something like that at the end with the title. She scampers away. She's happy she wins the title. Natalia's pissed off. She's fuming. AJ can use that heel heat for the next pay per view or the pay per view after or whenever. But yeah, I think this would be a nice women's match. I wasn't really happy with the women's match we got anyway. I think it was kind of garbage anyway. I know I've kind of put a garbage women's match on with the Total Divas and just random heel team as well, but I feel like I really feel like you needed something to kind of break up the Wyatt Shield match and Cena Taker, because I mean we've just had a great street fight and then we're going to go to this epic encounter that it would be built up like that between Cena and Taker. So you need something in between to kind of cool the fans down, not have them overworked up, take away, just relax them after the roller coaster matches. You don't want to have two big matches back to back. I believe when you're booking a show like WrestleMania, especially So anyway, this so far we have 9 matches. We've got one more left, which is going to be the main event. I think that's one criticism of WrestleMania 30. I felt like we only had I don't know how many matches do we have at WrestleMania. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We had 7 matches. Times on some of the matches went a little bit long. Like the opener, Daniel Bryan Triple H went 25 minutes, which is way too long for an opener. And I think it's that match on paper. It's too big enough to open the match. We had a pointless 6-man tag with the Shield, which was totally wasted, which lasted 3 minutes. Cesaro got a good time in the Battle Royal, 30 minutes. Cena Bray Wyatt, 22, might have gone a little bit too long, wasn't the best matches. Lesnar Taker went 25. To me, it's too long as well. That match had absolutely no reaction during the match. It was probably one of the worst Taker matches in recent years. Kickout City just got overdone with kickouts. It was a shocking moment to see Lesnar break the streak, but apart from that, it wasn't much of a match. You had a 6-7 minute Divas match, which was pointless and no build at all. And then you got like a 23-minute main event, which was a pretty good main event. But to me, overall, looking back at WrestleMania 30, I've seen people give it like, I don't know, 8.59 range. I'd probably give it an 8 range initially. To me, I don't know, 5 or 6 for WrestleMania. It could be even lower. But with my rebooking, not to sound arrogant, I think I've put a lot of effort. I've thought out a lot of stuff. I think it's got more of a flow to it. It's got more moments that people will be like, wow, this was great. More of a shock factor as well. So anyway, let's go on to the main event. So the main event, it's going to be now, Punk technically wasn't around at the time, so this is slight fantasy in this respect, but at the time, around Rumble and after Rumble, obviously Punk pissed off out of the company. I don't know how long he was pissed off with the company. I don't know how long he was feeling like injured, feeling burnt out, feeling like is there much point in staying around anymore? I know his contract ran out in July there a couple of months ago. But to me, I think WrestleMania missed Punk. Um, so this will be the one time only. He gets the main event of WrestleMania alongside, at the time, arguably the most over guy WWE has had in a number of years. Now, people can say, yeah, he's over because of the yes chant, which I agree to a certain part. I think he's over for his actual. I think his likability, his charisma, blah 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 blah. Both guys, if this was in the Attitude Era, they wouldn't main event pay per views. I'm sorry, simply because of their size. I know it's a negative to say in this day and age, but when you're a main event, to me, these guys should look more of a main event caliber. Punk needs to work out. He's got a decent look. He's got tattoos. If he worked out a little bit more, got a little bit bigger, slowed down his in-ring style a little bit to more of a heavyweight style, then I would take Punk as a heavyweight wrestler, where he could actually legitimately look like he competes for the world heavyweight title. Orton already has that look. He has the tattoos and got a better look than both Punk and Bryan. Combined, I would even say. He's not the best on the promos. Punk's very good on promos. Don't get me wrong. Punk is probably the best at promos out of these three guys. But this guy, if you want to consider him as a legitimate main event, it needs to work out. And the same for Bryan. Now, with Bryan as well, I've heard that they told him to grow his hair out. They told him to make the beard. Blah, 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 blah. Basically, just to not get him over. But despite all that facts, despite all the hurdles they put in front of him, people, I honestly generally think they do like Daniel Bryan. His in-ring work, his likability, his charisma, maybe his look in some ways, but he has something there. He is a good wrestler, I believe, but I would have had him cut right. I wouldn't have had him have the long hair and the beard. That's for sure. Um, you know, I would have had him cut that. Shaved the beard off or shaped it to a smaller beard. Cut his hair shorter like he used to have it. Not skinhead. Have some length onto it, but just to clean him up for WrestleMania. This guy is supposed to be going into a main event at WrestleMania, so have him look respectable. Orton at the time just came off the TLC match a couple of months ago, so he's kind of like a transitional heel champion. But basically, Bryan's going to win the title. For me, hold it to like something like SummerSlam. Then that probably would have been a perfect time for Brock Lesnar to say, "Look, I'm going to challenge for that World Heavyweight title. Have a nice build up, something kind of similar to Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar back in the day. Bryan drops the belt. Brock Lesnar's champ for a while. Roman Reigns next year. That'd be a great plan to me. Bryan can have a nice WWE World Heavyweight title reign. He's not necessarily a transitional champion because he's going to hold it from Mania 30 to SummerSlam 2014. Anyway, another added thing to this match, Triple H won't be wrestling on WrestleMania at all. He's going to be the referee in this match, which will be great to add to the storyline. And Kane is going to be a special enforcer. I feel like Kane, he's doing okay in the Authority, kind of bland. Kane's lost all his appeal as a monster heel anymore. So I don't really mind what they're doing with Kane. It's something, it's better than nothing, I guess. But special enforcer as part of the Authority outside the ring. Anyway, Royal Rumble 2014 is basically the build up for this match. Gonna have the same finish as the 94, where both guys fall over at once. You have possibly have a match a couple of weeks later on Raw to decide who is going to go to WrestleMania. Maybe have the Authority get involved, smart finish. Maybe go to Elimination Chamber where it ends in a draw again or something like a double pinfall. So that the Authority are literally forced to say, look, both guys are going to WrestleMania 30. They're going to challenge for the World Heavyweight title, but we're going to make your life a living hell on the road to there. Have, Orton, attack Bryan, Punk, have Triple H put him in matches leading up to basically stack the deck against them, so it doesn't look like they're going to get to WrestleMania. Have Kane attack, some fucking backstage brawls, all sorts of shit. It's simple. It gets Punk in the main event, which he always wanted at a main event of WrestleMania, so it stops that fucker from bitching. It gets Bryan in the main event, which, as I said, is arguably the most over guy in the company. And to me, it's not a bad choice to put him as champion. I don't think it would have ever happened in other eras of wrestling, but it's not a bad choice. And Orton gets the main event at WrestleMania. He's dropping the title, but he's done it before at WrestleMania. It's getting a new guy over, a guy that people seem to relate to, and as a culmination overall, I think I would have preferred this match as a WrestleMania main event. Now, not saying we didn't get a bad actual WrestleMania main event match, but I felt like Bryan had to go through too much maybe in one night to believably win the world title. I think you can do shit on TV to add to the element of building up to him getting attacked or him getting put in matches or everything just going against him. And same with Punk. Down the line, I actually think that you could do maybe Daniel Bryan Triple H possibly at the following WrestleMania or some point down the line later that year, perhaps maybe a Survivor Series or Royal Rumble next year, where Bryan eventually challenges Triple H, for his for even maybe control of the Authority, or he controls the show then, or that could be interesting perhaps. I think Punk gets his match. He could either leave TV after that, perhaps, but at least he's getting his WrestleMania payday. He could either stay around till the end of the contract and then leave totally, which I would be happy about. At least then he's committed to the company for that last couple of months. Orton could go on to other things. Not sure exactly off the top of my head, but I feel like overall this seems a better show. It seems more solid, seems more believable. I think there's better moments, better build up to matches. We only got like a 7 match show, and a couple of matches were just totally pointless. I feel like we're getting more matches that mean something. We're getting the Cesaro winning the Battle Royal and the IC title. We're getting the Usos winning the tag titles. We're getting a good a Lesnar Batista match. We're going to get an amazing Wyatt Shield match, balls to the wall. A shocking Cena heel turn finally against Taker, which is semi-main event. End the streak. That would be crazy shit. The fans will be definitely booing. I didn't like the fact that we were so quiet in that match. And then we get a kick-ass main event as well, where a guy like Bryan can go over, have a nice title reign, and that's it. So to me, WrestleMania in retrospect, I don't think it was a great show. I don't even know if it was a good show anymore. I would say it was a very average WrestleMania. And definitely, looking back, would not be in a top 10 WrestleMania for me. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoy. Comment, rate, subscribe. This is going to be a really long video. I thought that it needed something like this. A lot of detail, a lot of explanation. Hopefully, I'll come back soon and do some more booking videos or more wrestling videos. I just felt like this needed to be done, and yeah. So, anyways, peace, good luck, bye bye.